Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Recently, I did a video talking about a bunch of the different maintenance things that I like to do to rods, reels, my tackle during the winter months. And after doing that video, I had a pile of comments from you guys out there that wanted me to do a reel cleaning video. So here I've got for you 5 tips that will make your reel cleaning better. Because as we all know, reel cleaning is not as simple as you would think it is. There are a lot of things that you can do that can potentially harm your reel's performance as well. So you want to make sure you know what you're doing when it comes to cleaning your reels, which is a very good habit to get into, especially during the winter months. It's something that I do every year. I've done probably since I was 14 or 15 years old. And it gives me something to do during the winter months. So I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there as well that are cleaning your reels right about now. So let's start with the first tip that I have for you. The first tip, anytime you're talking about cleaning a reel, is just to clean up the outside of it. One of the biggest issues we run into is you get a pile of grime and dirt that gets compacted into various areas within the reel. Does not matter if it's a spinning reel, a bait casting reel, a spin cast reel, dirt gets pretty much everywhere. And it's that dirt that can lead to buildups in certain areas that can prohibit the performance of your reels. That could be anything from your casting distance. It could be your reel handle doesn't turn as easy. It could be you get so much dirt buildup that your reel completely breaks down. It doesn't run as smooth as it is. It's basically like getting dirt in the gears of some machine. You get too much crap in there, it throws the gears off, the gears end up breaking, and the machine breaks. Your reel is nothing more than a small machine. So you want to take care of it. You want to get that dirt out. Now, what a lot of people do is they'll just take like a Q-tip, or they'll take, some sort of wipe and just wipe the reel down. The problem is, if you look at this, Abu Garcia MG Extreme here, there's a pile of little nooks and crannies that dirt can get into that I can't get a Q-tip or a wipe into. What's the best thing that I've found to clean those areas is just a water pick. A water pick will allow you to shoot small streams of water into each of those little crevices and clean your reel out. And this reel is not afraid of water. As we know, they get wet on a routine basis. So there's not going to be any harm at all to your reel based on having water as part of your cleaning agent here. So a water pick is something that you don't hear many people talk about when it comes to the fishing world, but it really is the best tool I've found to get into those little nooks and crannies throughout the reel and get into some of those hard to reach areas. So that's the first tip. The second tip is, when it comes to taking your reel apart, I personally love to use a baking sheet, meaning when I take this reel apart, I always have a baking sheet in my vicinity to keep all of the parts in one area. I think all of us have taken reels apart and found you end up losing parts, or you drop one on the floor. This just keeps everything confined. It's one of those things. I have all of the tools that I need. I'll keep right here on the tray, and it makes something simple. It's such a simple tip, but it really is one of the necessities that I need now when it comes to cleaning fishing reels. So I think it's something you want to recognize that would be a good step to do if you're not already. So you can use a TV tray, a baking sheet, something that has some edges to it that will allow you to keep everything within the tray itself. Now, the third tip comes down to, once I've taken all the parts off, well, if I just put them in this tray, what's going to end up happening is they're just going to roll around, right? Like, I'm not necessarily going to be able to keep an idea as to what order everything needs to go in. And this is one of the biggest issues anytime you're talking about cleaning reels. People take them apart and they don't know what order to put them back into. There's a pile of little washers, little nuts, all kinds of various pieces. Well, for me, what I end up doing is taking these small little tackle boxes, these tackle trays, and I mark on the bottom. Each slot has a spot. I have a couple of these so that if I have reels that have piles of parts, I know exactly what order they go into. So the first part I take off goes into slot number 1. Second part, slot number 2. And if I have 15 parts, will I get my way all the way up to slot number 15? That way I know when I go to put my reel back together, I just got to work backwards. It's a simple tip, but it's something that allows me to make sure I can keep everything in order, which is a huge benefit to me in terms of being efficient when I'm cleaning my reels, but more importantly, not losing any parts. Because if you lose a part, that can destroy your entire reel. And at that point, sometimes you can't even order those new parts. So you may end up completely destroying the reel just from that standpoint. So, the fourth tip has to do with taking care of your reel. Once you take them apart, you've got all kinds of gears and you've got all kinds of bearings in it. Now, what I want to point out is there's a big difference between a ball bearing and a gear. And what a lot of people don't recognize, and this is a simple tip that my buddy Miles Berghoff likes to say, you put grease in gears and you put oil on bearings. It's simple, but if you mix that up, you're going to end up causing some damage to your reel. There's a lot of people out there that start cleaning their reels, and by the time they're done with it, the reel performance is worse after they're done cleaning it. And one of the biggest culprits to that is the fact that they put grease on their bearings and they put oil on their gears, or they just put oil on both or grease on both, and they don't recognize that they're causing harm in one of those instances. So just keep that in mind. Grease on gears, oil on bearings. The last tip for you is kind of along those same lines. A lot of people don't recognize that as reels continue to advance, a lot of times you don't necessarily need to apply oil or grease, meaning a lot of today's higher end reels are coming with ceramic coating on the bearings and the gears. There's a lot of waterproof substances that are being applied. And as soon as you add an oil or grease to it, you actually end up breaking down some of that coating that has been placed on the reels. So you're actually doing more harm than not. So I would highly recommend that you reach out to the company of the reel manufacturer, if you have questions regarding what products you should be using to clean your reels, because you potentially could be doing more harm than good by cleaning your reel because you don't even recognize that you're breaking down some substance that they already have. The reels are getting much more high end, and I'm not talking about necessarily $500 reels. A lot of the lower couple $100 range reels have some of these materials as well. It's just becoming more of a natural substance. So make sure before you apply anything to your reels that you in fact can use them on your reels without doing harm. At the same time, one of the biggest issues people make anytime they're applying grease or oil is too much. You don't need much. You need like a drop. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You want to just give it a little bit of lubrication and be done with it. If you apply too much, it's going to end up leaking all over the place. It's going to grab sediment and dirt. It's going to end up gunking up your reels. So do not fall into that category of being somebody that ends up with a reel that performs worse after they're done cleaning it. You want them to perform better because they've been cleaned and lubricated. So make sure you do it the right way. Hopefully these 5 tips were helpful for you. If you have some other tips or some other utensils or techniques that you use to clean your reels that you find helpful, share it with the rest of us in the comment section. Otherwise, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, we'll have a new video for you tomorrow.